The Pirates were off last night, so let's tackle a big concept for this club that looks beyond this season. Who's going to play shortstop? We'll look at the position options next on Locked On Pirates.
You are Locked On Pirates, your daily Pittsburgh Pirates podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Welcome to Locked On Pirates. I'm Gary Morgan. Today, we're going to be talking about the shortstop position, the upcoming series against the Padres, and I have a question for you all about trade season in 2025. Just want to kind of leave you with something to ponder over the weekend. A couple of things. Actually, the shortstop position is one of them. So the Pirates made the right decision, if you ask me anyway, moving O'Neal Cruz to center field. He's clearly catching on. He's getting comfortable. He was not exactly, getting the airs under control at shortstop. So moving him also moved the question of who would start at shortstop in the future to the top of the list here for the Pirates. It's clear it's not going to be Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. In fact, I'd be a little shocked if he wasn't dealt before the season ended. This won't be because he performed badly, but it will be that he costs too much for what he is. And defensively, he isn't a true shortstop. So we have a few different things to think about. First, if you move on from IKF, who plays it this year? If they don't bring someone in, who enters spring training as the plausible starter there? And finally, who is the guy being developed to come along and possibly hold it down for years to come? Let's start with immediately. Meaning they trade IKF anywhere from now to the deadline. We've already seen Jared Triolo get a shot there. Defensively, he can handle it. And if you stuck him there, he'd eventually get really good there. Defensively, I'm talking. Offensively, he leaves much to be desired. But at the very least, he's the baseline glove. He can shore you up defensively, and that might be the best you can do this year. Option 2, as I see it, would be to potentially move Nick Gonzalez there when he's healthy. I don't think his ankle should prevent this, but it's not ideal that it's coming off an ankle injury. Defensively, he's iffy there. He'll make most of the plays, but not all of them. Similar to IKF, a little quicker on his throw releases and double play turns. I think you'd see a slightly better version of IKF, basically, at shortstop. I think his arm's a little better, too. You could turn to Liover Peguero or Shang-Chi Shang. And another name you probably would prefer to forget, Alika Williams, still exists. If you just want to make sure the position is fielded, Chang or Williams could do that. Chang gives you a lefty stick and speed. Peggy is on his 4th year on the 40-man, so part of me just wants to see him get it to roll him out or roll him in. Williams would be a waste of time if you ask me, but I can't deny he's the best defender of the bunch. So that's right now. Maybe a bit in the next year. But mostly what you'd turn to if IKF was gone tomorrow. So entering spring, I think, for Peguero, it kind of depends on what they do in the immediate future. If he doesn't get a chance this year, I see them just moving on. If he does, we'll see. If he gets a chance, then I guess he has to be in that mix. But if he doesn't, you have to think they're just about ready to move him on from the 40-man, right? Chang will still be on the radar. But Termar Johnson and Mitch Jebb will be involved by then. Jebb can play shortstop, Johnson can't. And that might give the team cause to want Gonzalez at shortstop. Nick York's still in the mix, too, as far as taking some of that second base time. An interesting name that we haven't mentioned yet could crop up at the end of 2025, even. That's Jack Brannigan. He's going to need added to the 40-man this year, and by this year, I mean by December, for protection from the Rule 5 draft. And he can play just about anywhere. Third base and shortstop are very much so in his wheelhouse. Jack's a sleeper for this spot, and one who might get a cup of coffee this fall and might very much be in the mix come spring. Long term, and I'm talking like way beyond this year and even next, obviously Connor Griffin, who I fully expect to advance to Greensboro soon, but he's still a year or two away. Javier Rivas has come out of nowhere for a power surge this year in Greensboro. He could be on the move to Altoona soon and could move quickly from there. Your Donnie De Los Santos, Johnny Severino are at the high A level in Bradenton, and both could and should move up soon. They both should continue to move, too. The long-term future of shortstop looks a bit more competitive than the near term. Of course, they could sign someone or deal for someone, but this is the picture as I see it right now. So when we get into my question in segment 3, I think this is going to be part of it, because moving on from IKF, I think you're going to be hard pressed to assume that they automatically have an upgrade there. I don't know that they do. You're not going to be able to paint that as a positive upgrade when you move that guy. I just want you to keep that in mind, because I don't think that re-signing him is a smart allocation of dollars. And I certainly don't think that he is the pinnacle of shortstop play. In fact, I think they've probably left a lot of plays on the table by leaving him at shortstop as much as they have this season. I don't want to act like he's irreplaceable. I don't think that. But I do think that his bat plays, and I do think that you're going to be hard-pressed to find somebody that's going to hit for anywhere near the average he does. I don't see that anywhere close to this system right now. The top of the board, it's congested. There's a lot of options. But I don't think there's a lot of clear-cut winners yet. There's still time for guys to develop. Like Cheng really could take another step. He took a pretty big step from last year to this one already. Although they didn't really give him much opportunity when he was up here. I would have liked to have seen him actually get a little bit more playing time. I think it's kind of long past time that we should have seen Liover Peguero get some time. And I don't completely take off the table this idea of Nick Gonzalez being the shortstop, even if it's on a short-term basis. And mostly because second base is so loaded with potential players. You're not going to be able to hold off Termarr Johnson forever. You're not going to be able to hold off Nick York forever. Nick York gives you a lot more positional flexibility than Termarr Johnson. Termarr Johnson, your options are second base or DH. Those are the two places you can play that kid. I know it's listed as he can play shortstop too. He can't play shortstop in this league. He can't. And if you've watched him play second base, I think you're probably convinced that second base is a stretch, right? And it sucks that you drafted, potentially a DH as a 1-4. But if he hits, he hits. And I don't think anybody will care. He could be a decent second baseman. I have always questioned the range with him, and that's really the majority of my issue with Termarr Johnson. I know he doesn't have the arm to play shortstop. He's got to be a second baseman. I don't think he can play outfield. I think he's limited there. I really do. He was always an imperfect pick because of that. He really was a very talented high school bat. They've allowed him to kind of backtrack and do what he did that got him drafted. starting really at the end of last year, letting him defocus on some of the launch angle stuff and just get back to the hitter he was. And it's really paying dividends this year. He's starting to really come into his own. And defensively, he has improved. So he has gotten a little better at second base, but that's going to be a congested spot. And if any of them are capable of moving to short, I think you're going to see experiments there. And the bat really should kind of at least get some consideration here. If Nick Gonzalez can hit and he can field the shortstop position good enough, that might be where you need to land. It's going to be an interesting position to watch play out. I don't think they have a really solid plan for it. I do think their future looks incredibly bright at shortstop. But by the time you get there, we're going to be towards the end of a lot of this stuff we have to be excited about. So they either need to put the pedal to the metal and get some of those prospects through faster. Like, let's let Connor Griffin go ahead and jump both the single A levels this year and then give him a chance to get to triple A by next year if his bat's warranting it and his play is warranting it. Let's not falsely hold him back, because the faster you can get him up here and overlap with Paul Skeens, the more chance you have of making something happen. This team needs a lot more special, and that's one of their next big bets at special. Termar Johnson too. You got to get those guys to come up and pan out. Shortstop, man, what an interesting position. When we come back, let's talk a little bit about the upcoming weekend series against the Padres. They've certainly had the Pirates' number. Let's see if maybe we think this might be a different outcome this time. Whether you're gearing up for back-to-back meetings, shuffling kids back and forth to activities, or tackling an endless to-do list, your morning sets the tone for it all. That's why it should start with the perfect cup of coffee crafted just for you. Enter Trade. Trade is the #1 coffee destination in the U.S., delivering fresh, incredible coffee from over 50 of the country's top roasters. Whether you're a cold brew fan or a pour-over purist, they've got the roast you'll love. I took Trade's quiz. It only took about a minute. The first bag they sent me was spot on. Absolutely the perfect way to start the morning. Right now, Trade is exclusively offering our customers 50% off your 1-month trial at drinktrade.com /LockedOnMLB. That's TRADE.com /LockedOnMLB for 50% off your 1-month trial. All right, welcome back to Locked On Pirates. Thank you guys for tuning in, and make sure you smash that subscribe button and hit me with a like. And I was at the Post Malone concert last night with Jelly Roll and everything. Pretty cool. I posted a few videos in the shorts on the YouTube channel if you feel like checking those out. Pretty cool stuff. They got us doing Renegade right away. I think they had us sing Country Roads for Pat McAfee, which was fun. Pat McAfee came and intro Jelly Roll, which was neat. So good stuff. They did a good job of making it feel like they love Pittsburgh, whether they do or not. So I appreciated it. All right, let's talk a little bit about the Pirates and Padres. Padres obviously beat the living tar out of the Pirates the last time they played them. And, this is the challenge, right? The Pirates are doing better against the teams that are in their time zone. The teams that have struggled with, getting over 500, hovering around 500, under 500, that ilk. The Pirates fit in well and compete well with those teams. I think that's what we've just watched play out here over the last few series. And, now they get to go back and take another crack at one of these teams that they don't fit in so well with, right? Well, the Padres, they're not as healthy as they could possibly be, and they're not playing as well as they possibly could right now. They're struggling recently. So let's look at the pitching matchups first. Tonight, you got Mitch Keller and Nick Pivetta. Okay, so Nick Pivetta has been one of the better starters in the league this year. He's 5-2 with a 2.72 ERA. A little over 56 innings pitched, 63 strikeouts to 18 walks, and a 101 whip. That's great. I mean, like, Nick Pivetta has been pretty sick this year, for real. One of the more unexpected performances, I think, from the free agent crop last year. Mitch Keller, 1-6, a 3.66 ERA, 64 innings pitched, 55 Ks, 17 walks, and a 130 whip. Boy, this is a perfect example of why we tend to not look at the win-loss record for starting pitchers the way that we used to back in the day, because Mitch Keller has certainly pitched to earn a better fate than 1-6. I mean, he's been one of the better pitchers in the National League this year, really, if you look at his numbers. And it's kind of crazy that he is sitting where he is at 1-6. It speaks more to the team than it does him. Saturday, we go into Bailey Falter, who dominated May. 3-3 with a 3.47 ERA, a little over 59 innings pitched, 40 Ks, which is a lot for him, actually, and 21 walks, 1.14 whip. The Padres are going with Dylan Cease. Now, when you look at these two names on paper, Bailey Falter versus Dylan Cease, you think that's a mismatch, right? But Dylan Cease has not pitched like the Dylan Cease I think a lot of us remembered. He's 1-3 with a 4.58 ERA, 59 innings on the nose, 72 Ks, 20 walks, 1.25 whip. So the guys that are getting on base against Dylan Cease, they're doing so by swinging the bat. And it is going to come with strikeouts. That's the kind of pitcher he is. But he's also going to leave you hittable pitches in the zone on occasion, and you really can get to him. So I'm interested to see how the Pirates handle Dylan Cease. Bailey Falter has been one of the better starters on our team. I'm honestly excited to just watch him pitch every time. You don't know what you're going to get, but you know you're going to get a competitive start. And then in the last game on Sunday, Andrew Heaney goes for the Pirates, 3-4, 3.41 ERA, a little over 60 innings pitched, 44 strikeouts, 24 walks, and a 1.22 whip, facing Randy Vasquez, 3-4. 3.58 ERA, 55.1 innings pitched, 32 Ks, and 27 walks, a 1.39 whip. And now this is from Josh Poe, who writes for my site at Steel City Pirates. He was kind enough to put together the who's hot and who's not lists for this upcoming contest. And I like to read straight from it because he did a good job. And I'd also like to give him a shout out. Make sure you check out what we do at Steel City Pirates. More coverage there than I could possibly hope to record here. Pirates, Henry Davis. That's right. Henry Davis has been hot. In his last 7 games, he's hitting 400 with an OPS of 1.078. His defense has been excellent too, with 2 caught stealings recently. He's adjusted his stance slightly, which seems to have paid off. Is it him breaking out? We talked about that yesterday on the show. Maybe. The Padres have Gavin Sheets. Sheets has been red hot over the past 7 games. He's batting .276 in that stretch with 5 home runs and 11 RBI. And in the lineup featuring Machado and Tatis, getting that kind of production out of Sheets is unfair to opposing pitchers. And in the first series against the Padres, Sheets did some real damage to the Pirates. So it's not like we shouldn't recognize that he's a guy who can turn on balls and really do some hurting. Now, who's not hot? How about we start with Brian Hayes? Key is 4 for his last 34, which results in a 117 average. Despite the rest of the lineup starting to click, Hayes has kept to his non-hitting ways. A quick check of Baseball Savant page doesn't make you feel any better, as the only thing positive about his plate appearances is that he is squaring balls up. So if there is a silver lining, there is that. That's quite the stretch Josh is presenting there. It's been pretty bad watching Brian Hayes. He's been brutal. Fernando Tatis Jr. is cold for the Padres. He's cooled off in May after an amazing start to the season, but he's batting 188 with 25 Ks and an OPS of 642. His power is still there, but he's getting fooled a lot more than usual right now, so hopefully that can continue against the Bucks. Mitch Keller is a good opponent if you want to see that perpetuate for Fernando Tatis Jr. I think this is a matchup that we should be looking forward to as Pirates fans. And if this team is going to do anything positive, and let's talk about what positive is, okay? I don't expect this team to like storm back and even the scales and go 500 for the season. I'm much more interested in this finally healthy team with a new manager and a little bit of a chemistry shakeup, seeing what they can do about trying to play 500 ball the rest of the way. That to me has to come by beating some of these teams that we're not supposed to beat or we're not supposed to compete with. You can't get swept against these guys. Okay? If you can win the series, great. But I don't need you to win the series. I just need you to be competitive. I need you to take one from them. I need you to not get swept. I need you to keep these games tighter than they have been. Don't make it look like the gap is so wide. I think this is a team that the Pirates could sneak in here and come out of a series win with. They've got the right kind of pitching going against them. I think for whatever reason, Bailey Falter is a guy who is going to go through this lineup really well. He shouldn't. When I look at it and I look at what the Padres present, it makes no sense that I would think Bailey Falter could be okay. But I think he will. When we come back, I got a question for you. I want you to really think about it over the weekend and hit me in the comments with it. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Join the Trademaster program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. All right, welcome back to Locked On Pirates. So I promised I have a question for you in this last segment about trades. We've gone through the list of guys who are on the block. Guys like Adam Frazier, IKF, Caleb Ferguson, Ryan Barucki, David Bednar, Tommy Pham, Joey Bart even is a guy you need to start thinking about. Andrew Heaney. Pirates have a laundry list of guys they can and even should deal this year. I explained why on Wednesday's episode. But for today, just accept the fact that all these guys are on the block. Okay? At least these guys. So my question for you is, if this were executed by a new GM, like say they fired Ben Cherington tomorrow, these trades still need to happen. Would you immediately blame the new GM for selling off or having a fire sale? Or will you recognize these as simple have to do things? You get what I mean? I really want to think about this a bit because I think the inclination a lot of the time when you make trades like this, and I tried to tackle this a little bit on Wednesday's show. I really do encourage you to go back and listen to segment 3 on Wednesday if you didn't. I tried to talk about some of the different reasons that trades happen and how you identify who should be on the block and who shouldn't be on the block and why, and there's so many different facets for it. But when you have this kind of a list of rentals or guys that just really should move on because of where they are in arbitration and what you have coming and things such as that, it can still feel like your team is doing one of those traditional fire sales. And here in Pittsburgh, I think the PTSD in you is going to tell you that this is a full rebuild coming, right? And I think a lot of you are going to have a hard time understanding when to stop as far as like this rolling mentality that anybody could go. In some ways, I might do a better job of kind of explaining guys that are off limits or it's very unlikely they'll be traded, because that might comfort you more. But really try to follow the rules. Try to follow the normal rules of guys that need to go. Their contract expires at the end of this year, or they have maybe one more year of arbitration and they're getting expensive for all the wrong reasons. They're getting expensive via attrition as opposed to performance, right? So those types of things, like for instance, O'Neal Cruz is going to go into arbitration next year. He's about to start costing money. That is not the same as David Bednar entering his last year of arbitration, costing more money than you're comfortable with, and his performance has been slipping. So there's a delineation there. It's not just going into arbitration. It's not just getting expensive. It's getting expensive for the wrong reasons and being replaceable or not being replaceable. You're not going to find a freak to replace O'Neal Cruz. And he's going to be here for a while. You need to just let that play out a little bit. Okay? So that's one thing there. How would you feel about it though? If a new GM came in and just started doing that? Are you going to be salty if the old GM does it? Because that's who's here. And you may not think like there's anything great there, but like I could suggest that like he's done well moving guys like Andrew Heaney in the past. Think about what he got for Johan Oviedo. He moved Johan Oviedo and we ended up getting, or not Johan Oviedo. Johan Oviedo was the goal that he traded Jose Quintana for. Now, he had to package it with a reliever because he sent Chris Stratton too, and they got Johan Oviedo, a potential starter for this rotation for years to come, who's coming back from Tommy John here, or at least a good reliever. And Malcolm Nunez was a younger player who had kind of like gotten butted up against the Rule 5 draft, needed a little bit more development time. The Cardinals didn't really feel like giving it to him. Pirates had more than enough opportunity for him, so they took him on too. And this year, he looks like he's kind of taken some steps towards potentially being a major league piece. That's two decent pieces for two guys on expiring contracts. Get what I'm saying? You know, I don't think there's any kind of market for Tommy Pham. I don't believe the story about San Diego being interested in him. If they are, I would honestly be fine if they just left him behind for a bag of bats in this weekend series. We could do that anytime they like. But guys that matter, guys that actually could net you something, like let's say Adam Frazier keeps hitting the way he is. It's not going to be a popular move to trade Adam Frazier. If he's hitting the way he is, you know it as well as I do. You also know that there's no upside to signing him again. There's no upside to bringing him back next year. There's no future in it. There's no moving the ball forward as far as making this a better baseball team by keeping Adam Frazier another year. So you know he should be traded this year, even if on the surface it makes it look like it makes the team worse. So I'm asking, are you going to be more accepting of moves like that if you have a new GM? Or are you going to feel exactly the same about that move no matter which GM pulls it off? Is it ultimately driven by Bob's cheapness? It could be. But I'm trying to tell you, Bob cheapness aside, in baseball, you're out of the playoff picture. These are the types of moves you need to make. IKF could be a very valuable player for somebody down the stretch. He can play just about anywhere. He's hitting almost 300. You know, he's a veteran leader type. I can't tell you this team couldn't use a guy like that. I can't tell you this team's going to get better moving a guy like that. But I can tell you somebody in the playoffs is going to value him. We have no team control of IKF. To retain him next year, it's going to take $7.5 to $8 million. And I don't want to do it. I don't think they should do it, especially since shortstop is where they seem to think he belongs. Another team is not going to bring him in as a shortstop. They're going to bring him in as a second baseman, third baseman, utility type that can play an awful lot of positions. Oddly enough, a team like the Padres would probably be a good fit for him because, you know, they've got a lot of those different positions they could kind of float him around to help cover up some of their injury holes that they've got. Teams that are in this dance are going to want a player like that, and they're going to pay for him. You're missing an opportunity by not doing it. And if you don't trade him, here's what happens. You hold on to him till the end of the season. You have to make a qualifying offer to him, and the qualifying offer is the top X percentage of what players at his position are making. That's the qualifying offer. It's going to be a number the Pirates will never extend IKF, and here's why. Because he might take it. And it's going to be way more than you'd ever want to pay IKF. Okay, so you're going to let him walk. And because you couldn't make that qualifying offer and wouldn't make that qualifying offer, you're going to let him walk for nothing. Okay? So you trade him and you get something for him. Even if it's a lottery ticket. And when I say lottery ticket, that's somebody that's in high A or low A or even double A that has potential still, but they're probably not a top 5 prospect in anyone's system. You might be able to, depending on how IKF finishes this season out, weasel your way into maybe a top 10 prospect for somebody. I think that's doable, but you got to make these moves for that reason. And it may not help this GM to do it. He may be helping out the next GM. But it has to be done. I'm asking you, how are you going to ingest it? Are you going to take it in as something that has to be done, or are you going to take it as the same old fire sale? I know how social media will take it. I also know you're smarter than that. That's all I got for you this week. I hope everybody has a great time watching the Buccos out in San Diego and enjoys this series. I think it could be a fun one, and I think the Pirates might surprise us. I think they might surprise us and take this series. I got a feeling for some reason. I want you all to just stay locked on all weekend. I really had a great time this whole week doing shows, and the interaction's been wonderful. You everydayers, man, you are to be admired. You stuck with it all year. And I think just the last few weeks, we've had a little bit more fun talking about some actual baseball stuff instead of just the woe is me, wah, we're the bad Pirates. Good stuff. Fun to be a part of the community when it's like that. So thanks, everybody. Stay locked.